If I look a little bit bleary, it's because I am. It's just gone 5 o'clock. I was up about 4:30, and this is the downside of cruising. You have to follow the tides, and we're in Portland Harbour, and we need to get round Portland Bill to get off to the west, and in order to do so there's a tidal window if you use the inside passage, which is what I intend to do this morning. So I can get through between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock in round figures, and it's a good hour from here to the bill, so I need to get going fairly quickly. I've had my breakfast and I'm just drinking my cup of coffee, and the weather's looking fair. It was a bit doomy when I woke up, but and it was a real effort to get up, I have to say. I'm really looking forward to getting to Dartmouth or somewhere sensible and just sleeping. Getting up in the early is not in my nature at all, and shows an amazing amount of resolve, which I never knew I had. Anyway, today is the exciting bit. We're going across Lyme Bay, and I haven't done that for 40 years, so it's a lot of memories coming back, and it might be the last time I do it. So just make the best of it. Wind looks half reasonable, a bit light in the afternoon. We'll just have to see how we go, and we might not get to Dartmouth. Exmouth's another possibility. They're all lovely places to go. Round Portland Bill, here we go. Not a cloud in the sky. I think it's going to be quite warm today. Here's the entrance to Portland Harbour, and we're just about to go out into the channel, and hopefully there's a bit of wind in there, and I'll put the sail up, and then we're going to turn right, starboard to you non-land lovers, and head off down to the bill itself. So why is Portland Bill such a problem? Well, as you can see, it really sticks out in the middle of the channel. There's this great big bay all around here, and equally on the other side, if you look at this chart, it really sticks out in this direction as well. So the tide, when it's sweeping through from the west, gets to here, and it runs out. It pushes out beyond the bill and meets the tide going in this direction, and it makes a right mess. This is the only way to describe it. And because all this area here has to get round here, the tidal strength here is quite high. Coupled to which, out here we've got depths of 30, 40 and more meters, and here just off the edge of the bill it's down to 11. So there's a great big ridge that the water has to get over. So all in all, it's a very unpleasant place when the tide is at its strongest. Add to that a bit of wind against the tide, and it really is not a place to be. It has the reputation for sinking boats, quite large boats. So the alternative is to go right outside here, about 5 miles off, where it's not so bad, and then go back in again. But if you look at this chart, you'll see that just here is the shambles, and this area here is not very pleasant either. That can be breaking waves and everything else. So if you want to go to Portland, for example, then you'd have to come a long way out and then go back in again. The other alternative is you go down to Lorworth Cove. So the inside passage is the place to be if you can get in there and the weather's suitable. It's very, very docile on most occasions. There's no wind of any note, so I'm plugging on with the engine. I don't normally motor as fast as this, but we do need to get to the bill before the tide turns. I've got company over there. There's a yacht heading in the same direction. It's always comforting to know someone else agrees with your calculations. We're just coming to the end of Portland Harbour now, and as you can see, it does extend quite a long way. However you describe it, pretty doesn't seem very high on the list. It's an ugly monster really, but it's very functional and it makes a fine sheltered harbour. Still got a couple of yachts behind me, and there's 2 or 3 in front, so more confirmation that I've got my calculations correct. couldn't wish for a nicer day. It's almost flat calm. Well, we're doing well. There's the lighthouse now in view. So that's the actual bill. We've just got to get round it. It's very calm and there's almost no wind, so a perfect day for doing this. I don't like engines very much, but I have to say this would not be possible without an engine today. There just isn't enough wind to get round. So I'm very grateful to the dear old Volvo Penta for plugging away, pushing us along at nearly 5 knots. We've got a bit of tide underneath us as well, so the speed over the ground is nearly 7 knots. It's going to be a very hot day though. It's warm already and there's not a cloud in the sky. We're just on the edge of the race here, and even with this really calm sea and light wind and optimal tidal conditions, it's still surprisingly lumpy. I've seen it really bad out here. It only needs a force 4 or 5 and a bit more tide to make it quite difficult. There's the lighthouse. The other thing you need to watch out for is that there are lots of fishing buoys. In a strong tide they disappear under the water and you don't want one round your prop. I can see some fishing boats ahead and it looks like we're nearly round. But you wouldn't want to be washed up on there, would you? Looks horrible. Well, that's Portland out of the way. All I've got to do now is steer 270 due west and we head for the West Country. Well, we're round. The wind is negligible. I've slowed down a bit. We'll cruise along at about 4 knots. It's more economical on fuel and I'm in no great hurry. The forecast is that the wind will eventually come up with a bit of north in it. It's already got a little bit in, but we'll give it another half an hour and maybe put the sails up and see what gives. But for the moment it's just good to be round Portland Bill. A real non-event today. It's the calmest I've ever seen it. I've just put the sail up. There's very little wind, but with the engine and the sail we get a little bit more speed, but more importantly it stops the boat rolling. And I've got some companions, we're all plugging along at about the same speed. And there's a load up in front. You don't need to navigate, you just follow all the other boats at the moment. They're all going west. Well, this little trip hasn't quite worked out the way I expected. Having said that, Predict Wind did indicate that the wind would drop off out in the bay and be very variable, and it was. It got very, very flaky down to just a few knots, and eventually started to fill in, and meant the tack I was on was going to take me down south. So I tacked inshore because Predict Wind also forecast
a sea breeze, and if you see those puffy clouds over there, that's what's causing it. Each one of those is a thermal, and it's sucking air upwards and has to be replaced, and it comes off the sea. So gradually there's more and more south going into this wind, and it's increasing in strength, and eventually, as a bit of luck, we might be able to just reach all the way along the coast and maybe go into Exmouth rather than Dartmouth tonight. We're just seeing how it goes. It's lovely out here though. The sea is incredibly smooth, and it's quite warm. The breeze is just enough to keep you cool, and you know, who could want for anything more? Well, my guess with the wind shift seems to be working. That's Sidmouth way over there in the distance, and now running pretty much parallel to the shore. We are gradually getting closer to the shore, but we're almost steering due west, and it's getting better minute by minute sort of thing. So heading for Exmouth. Decided Exmouth's the place for us. Look at that lovely countryside of the Devon coastline. Really a nice place to be, this is. Just trying to find the entrance buoy for Exmouth. It's about another 4 or 5 miles along here, but difficult to spot, that's for sure. Well, I made it into Exmouth. The harbour entrance really runs hard against you when the tide's going out, as it is at the moment. And I've picked up there's lots of spare buoys here, but I picked one up. I'm here for the night. I'll be staying on board. I'll nick somebody's mooring. I could clear it. You can see how much tide there is on the mooring. This is the ebb, and this mooring has not been used for a very long time, I think. So I think I'm all right for tonight. When the tide eases, the current eases, I'll move it through the bow roller, where I'll be a bit happier, but it was quite a struggle getting it to there, really. Well, it's a lovely morning here on the River Exe. That's a train, and in a minute I'm going to show you where it goes. It goes all the way along that embankment there, just in front of the house, and there's a bit of a bridge, and all the way along the seafront here. It must be lovely to be in the train and see it, but they go backwards and forwards and honk. They didn't keep me awake during the night, but they could have done, I suppose. I was very, very tired. Here it comes. There it goes. This is a normal boring one, but about 20 minutes ago there was a steam one went past with 12 coaches behind it. Unfortunately I missed that. It's a real shame. These are the idiotic things that you see happening. Look at the speed these two are going at. Heading straight for these. What a pleasant change from these horrible motorboats roaring up and down. And they haven't even got the gumption to slow down.
Later in the day, the steam train with its 12 carriages returned. It's a shame the sun by then was in my face, so the picture isn't all that good. But you do need to hear the whistle conversation with the traction engine that was further down the line.
Here we are, leaving Exmouth behind us, and we've got a nice little trip all the way along this lovely pastel coastline, the red cliffs of Devon. And our next stop, or the next point of call, will be Hope Snows, which is, if you look carefully in the distance, you can just see it under the sail. Oops, you can just see it under the sail, and that's the bit that goes into Torbay. So we're sort of heading in that general direction. With a bit of luck, we'll make Dartmouth tonight. Wind's light, but it's good enough, and it's extremely pleasant out here. There's quite a lot of ships going the other way, all sailing gently. The wind's still very pleasantly 11-12 knots, so nobody's exactly rushing, but they're all getting along very nicely, haven't they? Look, lovely day for it, really is. That's Teignmouth over there. Depends where you come from as to how you pronounce it, but Teignmouth will do. The wind's dropped off really light. It's sort of barely 9 knots now, and we're down to a little over 2 knots. The Zephyr IV is not good in very light airs, that's for sure. It's pleasant enough, but a few more knots would make a big difference. And it's touch and go whether we're going to get round the next headland or round into Dartmouth. We might have to tack. Horrors. We're not going particularly quickly, but it's surprising how you eat up the ground. These big rocks, the one in the middle is Thatcher's Rock, and the little flat one close to the shore is the lead stone, and the other one is called the ore stone. These are the start of Torbay. So Torquay is just round the corner there to the right, and Brixham is more or less over to the left a bit, behind the ore stone really. So we're making quite good progress really, considering. Very light wind. The autopilot's doing astonishingly well actually. I think it does better than I can. It's quite sensitive to wind shifts and it doesn't get tired. There's Torbay opening up, Torquay to the right and Brixham to the left. This was once described as the English Riviera. It's certainly lovely today, and for those of you watching this on video, this sea really is this blue. It's just an amazing colour. We're doing quite well now. Wind's come up a little bit, and that's Berry Head up ahead of us. And there was a bit of doubt as to whether we were going to get round that, but it looks good now, and the boat's getting along a bit more quickly. So we get round Berry Head, turn right a bit, and then it's a short hop then to the mouth of the River Dart. This is Berry Head that we're heading to now. Just going to go round that and almost right across Torbay, and there is Brixham away in the distance. That's a fabulous chunk of rock. Berry Head. Just sloshing past it. Doesn't seem to be any race of any sort. It's really rather pleasant. And that's where we're going. Around the next headland into Dartmouth. Wind's dropped right away and we've got a bit of tide against us, so we're creeping past these rocks. And there's a fishing buoy there, look, a lobster pot or something I suppose. Got to keep your eye open for them, and you can see the tide on it, a bit of tide against us. Well, reluctantly I've had to start the engine. The wind's died away to just a few knots, and we stopped making any progress at all. We got a little bit of tide against us, and and we weren't going anywhere. So the engine's going at the moment. If the wind picks up, we'll get rid of it again, but we're so close, just round the corner from the mouth of the Dart, and it's going to take a long time to get there at the speed we were going, and it's already 4 o'clock and I want me tea. That's Dartmouth day mark, which you can see from quite a long way out to sea.
Well, we've made it to the entrance of the River Dart. I think this is probably one of the most magical harbour entrances I've ever been in. Apart from the relief of actually getting there, the eccentric little castles and other architectural delights please me greatly. I hope they affect you the same. Here's some nice music and just enjoy the trip.
For the wave. Safe journey back. This is Ditsham, spelt Dittisham, right up the River Dart, and a little haven. I've had several very, very nice evenings up here in the past. There's a pub over there, I can't remember the name of it now, and there used to be an old melodeon player called Bill, and it was Bill that encouraged me and got me playing the melodeon more than I would have done before. So it's got very fond memories.
This is the Ditsham to Greenway ferry, which is busy taking people backwards and forwards between the Ditsham pontoon and Greenway Quay. The main attraction is Greenway House, that's now a National Trust property, but once was owned by the celebrated crime novelist Dame Agatha Christie. As I'd spent a whole week without leaving the boat, I decided to take a trip ashore and walked along the narrow and steep lanes around Ditsham. Thanks for watching. The next part will take you with me further west to Salcombe and Foy and beyond. Please subscribe, it really does help, and then you won't miss an episode.